What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back and we have a 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Premium 14 sitting here right next to me. Let's get into it. Now, the 2024 Crosstrek has been completely redesigned here in this new generation. So you probably can tell right off the bat some of the significant visual changes. There's also some changes on the inside that we'll take a look at, and we're gonna cover all of that in this video. So starting up front, the front grille has been kind of redesigned is kind of a strong way to put it, but maybe refreshed to kind of match the rest of the Subaru lineup. You have your hexagonal type grille here. You have your little wings that come off. Now, typically they would come off and end at the grille. Here in 2024, they extend a little bit over to these headlights, which I think looks really clean. I like the look of this front grille as well. You've got black matte on the actual grille piece and then kind of a gray metallic on the wings here. More cladding down here that's kind of been redesigned. It's a little bit more aggressive looking. You've got fog lights down here as well, which I don't think fog lights is necessarily a new option on the Crosstrek, but here on the Premium, to have fog lights, that's a nice touch. Another thing that's a nice touch is having standard LED steering responsive headlights. That's right, no longer do you have to go up to the Limited to get LED headlights. You get them now standard across the lineup. So this is super nice. They have a little bit of an angled protrusion there to give it some 3D elements. You'll see that continue on the tail lights as well. Then the body colored piece splits. You do have a license plate bracket here that you can install if you want. Some people put little, off-road badges and things like that up front here. I had one of those on my Crosstrek back when I had one, 2019. You have more of this rugged plastic cladding up underneath just for some ground coverage and protection there. Now, in recent generations, Subaru did add the 2.5 liter engine option. So that is one of your two engine options here for 2024 as well. Our specific trim has the 2.0 liter engine. So it has 152 horsepower, 145 pound-feet of torque, 34 miles per gallon highway, 27 miles per gallon city. But if you bump up to that 2.5 liter on the Limited and the Sport trims, I think the Wilderness trim also has that. You can get 182 horsepower. So nice bump in horsepower there. I would probably do that if I was gonna buy another Crosstrek, just because that was the one thing that kind of brought it down a little bit for me, was just the horsepower not really matching up with what you might need. But you can do that now on higher trim levels. Another thing that is updated here in 2024 are the EyeSight cameras. You have Subaru's enhanced EyeSight system, which gives you this entire plethora of safety features that are improved. So nothing necessarily new per se. You still have like lane centering, things like that that were added in previous generations, more recent generations, I should say. But you just have a better camera system that's gonna work more efficiently and more effectively for your safety systems. So this color we're looking at is the Crystal White Silica. There are a nice range of color options, including what you get with that Wilderness Blue. You have the Alpine Green, you've got the Red Hot, you've got a couple different blue variants, you've got Magnetite Gray Metallic, lots of really nice color options. I wish I had something. I don't typically like to shoot white cars because they're just kind of but I think this does a good job of showing you the contrast of the updated cladding and how aggressive it is, especially here around the wheel well. So let's go ahead and talk about that. They enhanced the cladding, bumped it out a little bit. I don't think they did that for 2024. I think we have that on 2023 as well. But what we didn't have on 2023 is this active ventilation here, these pass-through vents that are basically ripped straight off the WRX, if you guys have seen that before. But this is basically just gonna allow easier airflow, more aerodynamic, et cetera, et cetera. As far as wheel options go, you've got two wheel options as you had in the past, 17 and 18-inch wheels. This one has the 17-inch wheels. Higher trim levels, gonna have your 18-inch wheels. But this is the updated wheel design for this model year. I'll have pictures on screen for previous generations here, but this is the look for 2024. And I think it's a little bit more in line with what we've seen on the Foresters and Outbacks of the sort. I think it kind of brings it up a tier as far as premium wheel design goes. So I actually think it looks nice. It's not as kind of like quirky and unique as previous generations, but I think it looks pretty good. You do have a little bit of a flap down here as well behind the wheels. Moving on back, not a lot of like intricate body lines here on the Crosstrek. You just have this one runner that goes up over to the windowsill and one down below. Moving back to the rear view mirrors, you've got these gray rear view mirrors with integrated turn signals. This one does have the blind spot monitoring built in, and these are heated, but they are manual folding mirrors, so no power folding on here. You put your hand inside the door handle here to unlock it, and then the little button here to push to lock. Up top, you have these redesigned roof rails here. These look a good bit different. Well, I mean, all roof rails kind of look the same, but these definitely look different than previous generations here. They're a little bit more square, which I don't know what added benefit that has, but they do look different and updated and whatnot. The one reason I wanted to grab this white one is because it did have a couple of the options that the Premium 13 does not have, which we'll talk about in just a second. But one of those is this sunroof here. So just a little, single pane sunroof here. Nice touch. Moving on back, you do have cladding here, partially on the rear doors. That goes again up and around. Another thing they added in 2024 is instead of having a lever under your front seat to open the gas cap in the back, you can just press it if the vehicle is unlocked, and it's gonna pop right open. And then if you do have the vehicle locked, it also locks the gas cap, so that no longer works. So that's a nice little security touch as well. Now, moving to the back of the vehicle, this is another one of those places where you can really feel the redesign. They basically took the butt of a WRX, slapped it on the Crosstrek. So you've got these sculpted taillights, which look really cool. You have more sculpted cladding around the reflectors here at the bottom, more of these pass-through vents. They're very thin, but they do have room for air to pass through. Nice sculpted tinted back windshield, a little bit of a spoiler, rear wiper as well. Now I'll give you guys a close-up shot of this so you can see, but they actually added this bumper guard here. If you do get a bumper lip guard thing here, it's got mountains and then pine trees and then ocean right here, just to kind of, represent the brand a little bit, but it looks really cool. Nice touch there. Interestingly, there is still no power liftgate option on the Crosstrek. That has to be a cost-saving measure, but what it does have is a generous amount of cargo space. So I'll have all dimensions on screen as always, but you've got more nice little accent touches here I'll show you. Looks like some mountains back here with a little tiny Crosstrek badge on kind of the edge of the tailgate here. Not the bumper guard, past the bumper guard. Looks cool. You've got all-weather mats back here that have the Crosstrek nameplate on them, as well as kind of a little wavy design. I'll show you those. And then you do have this little LED light up underneath to shine into the cargo area for added visibility if you're out in the wilderness at night or at your house at night, whatever. But that's basically everything here at the rear of the vehicle. Let's go ahead and hop inside. So hopping inside this redesigned cabin, the first thing that's going to catch your eye, obviously, is the massive 11.6-inch display first introduced on the 2020 Outback and 2020 Legacy. They finally brought it here to the Crosstrek, and it looks great. Now, there's some give and there's some take, and we're going to focus a lot on the give, but I do want to mention the take, and we'll come back to the display in a second. But the take from adding something that's a little bit more expensive in this larger display is that the rest of the materials in the cabin go, you're gonna notice that first and foremost when you grab the steering wheel. This model we're sitting in right now is a Premium 14. $31,000 is going to get you a Fisher-Price plastic steering wheel. I mean, straight out of the stamp mold. This thing is just no stitching, no leather wrap, no nothing. Not even a faux leather wrap, just a plastic, hard, boring, plain steering wheel. It's a joke. $31,000 plastic steering wheel. That's a joke. It continues on to the gear shift down south here. Rubber, a little bit of kind of a grippy material here, matte plastic. Gross. Now, some of the material changes I actually like. For example, they got rid of some of the gloss black plastic surrounding the display, on the steering wheel, on the center console gear shift area. I love that. They went with a gray matte plastic. That is awesome. Way less fingerprints, way less dust, way less scratches. All that kind of stuff is good. But some of the other sacrifices they made, I just don't get. The steering wheel is the biggest one. This is not a cheap SUV, $31,000. There's just a lot of plastic in this thing that I just don't think they needed to have everywhere. Some of it I think looks good. I think some of this fabric bit with the faux carbon fiber up top, a lot of the upper stuff looks good. Even on the armrest over here, you've got a very realistic feeling leather material over here with some accent stitching. Why not just slap that on the steering wheel? Just do it. It's $31,000. You've got the room to do that. But this steering wheel, aside from not feeling great or looking great, does have a lot of nice functionality. You've got all your media controls here on the left side, your adaptive cruise control, lane centering, SI drive buttons all on the right side. Again, some of that kind of matte gray or black plastic around. I think that looks good. Same around the bottom here. Paddle shifters, lights, wipers, nothing's changed there. Past, you have two traditional gauges, and then you have your little 4.2-inch color display in the center that gives you all of your adaptive safety systems, all that kind of good stuff right there. Another thing that you will notice if you get into this Crosstrek is how few buttons there are. There is one little brightness dial over here, two faux buttons because you didn't pay enough money to get these extra buttons to actually have functions. You have a trip reset button right here. You have your push to start engine button, flashers. You have your electronic parking brake. Finally, let's go Subaru, good job. Way to put that on the Crosstrek finally. And then you have your heated seat buttons here. Now, interestingly, they didn't put the heated seat into the display with, you know, software buttons like they do on the other models that have it. You have actual physical switches here, which I think a lot of people like, but interesting that they didn't kind of just get rid of that and, you know, put that on the display, save space. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if you take away the buttons on the steering wheel, there are very few buttons and dials on this thing. It's very clean. Some people don't like that. So a lot of your controls are going to be inside of this display. Some people like that, some people don't. So let's go ahead and take a look at this screen. So we'll go ahead and turn the accessories on here. And nothing's really different kind of about the display as far as new features. You do have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which you didn't have previously. It's a nice touch. And also they recently, I say recently, it's been a couple years, but they updated CarPlay so that it actually works vertically instead of just taking up a tinier portion of the screen horizontally, which is a huge plus. You've got all your standard radio, Bluetooth, like I said, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You have your My Subaru app. You have Sirius XM radio. You have car info, valet mode, and then you can turn on a lot of like your vehicle safety systems. No rear view mirror camera on this one specifically, but you do have the nice, thick, bulky Subaru rear view mirror, which I'm always a fan of. Again, upgraded eyesight system up top. You do have a little pad area where you can put a phone. Fits, you know, any size phone will fit there. On some higher trim levels, you can get a wireless charging pad that goes there, which is nice to pair with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto because you can just connect your phone, not have any wires dangling around, just set your phone on the charging pad when you're on the trip, it'll keep it charged up, and you can use Apple CarPlay all the same. But if you do want to plug in and have wires, you do have an aux port still, which is actually kind of hard to find vehicles that still have a physical 3.5mm aux jack right there. You have as well a USB-C port, which, if I'm not mistaken, is new for Crosstrek. Don't think they've ever had that before, but you have a 3 amp USB-C port there, as well as a 2.4 amp USB-A port. Your cup holders are now diagonally offset instead of lining up top to bottom there. And inside they do have these little pucks that have nice little accents on them as well, little mountains, so you can, you know, have more room if you need it, take them out. If you need smaller bottles, or if you have smaller bottles and you need less room, put these little pucks in there to keep stuff in place. Another nice addition is they actually made the cup holders, where my Starbucks drink is here, a little bit larger, so you're able to fit you know, more traditional water bottles you see nowadays over on the side here. I can tell you from experience in owning my Crosstrek back in 2019 that the cup holders were pretty small, and if you had anything above kind of even just a standard water bottle size, they would kind of lean off to the side a little bit and fall all the time. So now not only do you have larger cup holders here, but you do have some over here as well. Now, they moved the 12-volt outlet from inside the center console to outside right here, and it's got a little cover to keep stuff from getting in there, so you can just lift that up, plug something in, you know, so on and so forth. Now, let's talk about these seats. This is a big deal for the Crosstrek here. So one of people's biggest complaints about the Crosstrek and a lot of cheaper SUVs are the quality of their seats. They just don't put a lot of time, effort, and money into that portion of it because they are trying to cut costs. They did not try and cut costs here on these seats. These are seriously improved seating surfaces. These are the cloth ones. They're a two-tone seat, so black and then a gray. And instead of having yellow accent stitching, they almost have little yellow accented designs on the inside. So I'll give you a close-up so you can see. Regardless of what they look like, because you can get a bunch of different colors. Like you can get black with orange stitching, gray with orange stitching, you know, a leather seating surface as well. This is, again, like I said, the cloth. They are just so comfortable, so much more comfortable than the previous seats. I've been sitting in them for a long time in this vehicle. I've very used to the ones in previous generations from owning my Crosstrek, and I can say without a doubt, these seats are more comfortable. So if that was a sticking point for you in not purchasing a Crosstrek, go ahead, bump up to the 2024, check these out. I think you're gonna really like them. Speaking of bumping up, you do now have power lumbar support on the Crosstrek. That is another huge deal. I'm a huge fan of lumbar support, and these feel really nice. These are a 10-way power seat. Over on the passenger seat, you just have a manual seat unless you bump up to higher trims, and then it probably gives you a power option. But the 10-way power seat here is part of that Premium 14 package, along with the sunroof, the heated rear view mirrors, heated windshield wipers, heated seats as well right here. That's one of the reasons I grabbed this one. And then you have a couple safety features that are part of the Premium 14. Blind spot detection, the little lights on the side, that's part of it. Rear cross traffic alert as well, and the automatic emergency steering. So those 5 categories, but probably like 6 or 7-ish things, is an extra $2,245. So this would be you know, a $28,000 vehicle or so without those. So hopping inside the back seats here, this is a compact SUV and you have a ton of legroom. I had this seat where I would naturally sit as someone who's 6'1", and I've got probably 4 or 5 inches of rear legroom here. The roof actually scoops up right here, so you get a little bit of extra headroom as well. I mean, my beanie's hitting the top of it, but if I didn't have the beanie on, I would have plenty of headroom. Decent shoulder space. I mean, with 3 adults back here, it's gonna be pretty cramped. 2 adults, fine if you leave this middle seat open. 3 kids, no problem at all. You do have this center portion that folds down, 2 cup holders, armrest there, which is nice. You have a single map pocket. You're not gonna put a map in, you're gonna put something else in, probably trash, but a nice pocket back here. You do have another USB-C port and a USB-A port back here for charging. A couple handles here, little LED light. Not a whole lot going on back here. You do have window controls here. No heated seat option on the premium here in the rear seats. That might be available on higher trim levels, I'll have to check. But super spacious. I mean, the Crosstrek is a compact SUV, and to have this much space in the back seat for 2 adults, 3 kids, excellent. All right, let's take the Crosstrek for a spin here. Startup sound. And you can kind of see the gauge cluster there, and then the display here. And there is the rear view camera. Looks good. Let's go ahead and get her out. So some of the things that Subaru has mentioned as being improvements for 2024 are things like cabin noise. So I'll try and have a portion of this where it's silent, and I'll let you guys listen. And I'll also give you my impressions as someone who has driven a lot of Crosstreks, including obviously my own, as I've mentioned several times in this video. And I can give you an accurate gauge of if the cabin sounds that much quieter. Also, as I mentioned earlier, they did improve the suspension a little bit. That's supposed to help with overall ride quality. And I think that there is a tangible improvement in the dynamics, specifically in regards to the driving experience, even from somebody who doesn't pick up on that stuff necessarily just right off the bat. I think you could definitely tell a difference, and that's saying something. So kudos to Subaru on that. Now, as far as the cabin noise, I still think you can hear a good bit of road noise. Now, I complained a lot about this steering wheel here, and by no means is it a pretty steering wheel or a comfortable steering wheel necessarily, but I think that it is functional. So let's go ahead and turn the adaptive cruise on so you can see that right there. You get the little steering wheel, meaning lane centering is ready. So let's go ahead and set. And then when it's on, the steering wheel turns green. And then that will keep you in the center of these nicely painted lanes here. So you can kind of see, if my hands aren't on it, that it will kind of turn the wheel slightly. Yeah, that's doing pretty well. Look at that. It will tell you to keep your hands on the wheel once I'm off for too long. So it's not like a hands-free system by any means. See, there it is. But yeah, it does work. Now, as far as usability of everything, I mean, it's always great with Subarus. No issues at all using the infotainment system here. No awkward bumping. Now, the push to start button is located in a secret spot. It's up under the steering wheel here. A little bit hard to get to, but really, you only ever need to hit that one time, you know, getting in, one time getting out. So it's not like you need to access it all the time. And as you probably heard just then, this does have the auto start stop engine. So you can turn that off with that button right there, but you do have to turn it off every single drive, which is an absolute pain. Need to fix that. I get why they do it, but it's just, I don't know, it's a pain. I don't like it. I mean, listen, it drives like a Subaru. It drives like a 2.0 liter Crosstrek, because that's what it is. The 2.5 liter is much preferred in my opinion, but you guys have to be the judge of that for yourselves. The vehicle dynamics, I think, are a touch better. And I think the engine and road noise is the same. And I'm very interested to try out the 9.3 inches of ground clearance on the Wilderness when we get one of those on the lot. I really like the look of those, and I think that's really cool. I almost thought this specific model had 9.3 inches of ground clearance because it looks elevated with the redesign. But unfortunately, it's just, well, not unfortunately, but it just has the 8.7 inches of ground clearance. So is the 2024 Crosstrek worth the upgrade? Yes, if infotainment systems are really important to you and if you like the redesign. I think the redesign looks really slick. I'm a big fan of especially the rear liftgate area. I think it looks exactly like the WRX, but you know, in the SUV format, which I'm a huge fan of. And I do like this infotainment screen, especially if you're a heavy CarPlay user. It could be a really great user experience for you. But the material downgrade, you know, surprising that they actually did it, is kind of a huge swing and miss from Subaru here. But if that doesn't bother you too much, or you do want to wait until later this summer when we start getting some of the higher trim levels that maybe have some higher end materials, then sure, maybe go for that, wait, and then go ahead and upgrade. But I'll leave that up to you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and if you are going to be upgrading from a previous gen Subaru to the new 2024 Crosstrek. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Drop a like on the video if you loved it. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think about the all new redesigned 2024 Subaru Crosstrek? Let's have a conversation down in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button on this new channel so you don't miss every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.